Welcome back, everybody. These are the best films that came out in the year 1967. Let's see which blockbusters, duds, and gems came out that year that played throughout the Hollywood, drive-ins, and movie theaters. All right, these are the best films of 1967. Let's check them out. Berserk. A scheming circus owner finds her authority challenged when a vicious killer targets the show. Joan Crawford and Ty Harding. Berserk. Next up we have as a classic comedy romance, A Countess from Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, an ambassador returning to America meets a Russian countess, a refugee without a passport. Marlon Brando, Sophia Loren, and Sidney Chaplin. A Countess from Hong Kong. A Guide for the Married Man. Neighborhood Lothario gives his married friend Paul a series of lessons on how to cheat on his wife without being caught. Walter Matthau, Inger Stevens, and Sue Ann Langdon. A Time for Killing. Confederate POWs escape a Union camp and make for the Mexico border. Inger Stevens, Glenn Ford, and Paul Peterson. A Time for Killing. Bang Bang Kid. An eccentric inventor shows up in a wide-open frontier town with a mechanical robot he says can turn into a gunslinger to help clean up the town. Guy Madison and Sandra Milo and Tom Mosley. Barefoot in the Park. Conservative young lawyer Paul marries the vivacious Corey. Their highly passionate relationship descends into discord when they rent up their first apartment. Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. Bedazzled. A hapless loser sells his soul to the devil in exchange for 7 wishes, but has trouble winning over the girl of his dreams. Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. Bedazzled. It's a Bikini World. Male chauvinist Mike attempts to get an intelligent, burgeoning feminist Delilah into his harem. Deborah Wally, Tommy Kirk, and Bobby Pickett. It's a Bikini World. Bonnie and Clyde. Bored waitress Bonnie Parker falls in love with an ex-con named Clyde Barrow, and together they start a violent crime spree throughout the country. Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. Bonnie and Clyde. The Born Losers. Billy Jack battles a motorcycle gang in a small California beach town. Tom Laughlin, Elizabeth James, and Jeremy Slate. Born Losers. Next up we have is Chuka. While Indians besiege a U.S. Army fort in 1876, residents of the fort, a gunfighter, a stagecoach driver, 2 Mexican women, and a motley company of soldiers try to come to terms with their past. Rod Taylor and Ernest Borgnine. Day of Anger. A scruffy garbage boy becomes a pupil of a famed gunfighter. Lee Van Cleef, Giuliano Hema, and Walter Relia. Day of Anger. The Dirty Dozen. During World War II, a rebellious U.S. Army major is assigned a dozen convicted murderers to train and lead them into a mass assassination in German officers. Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine, Charles Bronson, John Cassavetes. Don't Make Waves. Carlo goes on vacation to Southern California, where he quickly becomes immersed in the easygoing local culture and becomes entangled in 2 beachside romances. Tony Curtis and Claudette Cardinal. Easy Come, Easy Go. Navy frogman Ted Jackson balances his time between his twin careers as a deep-sea diver and nightclub singer. Elvis Presley and Dodie Marshall. 8 on the Lam. A bank teller is suspected of embezzlement and goes on the run with his 7 children. Bob Hope and Phyllis Diller and Jonathan Winters. Clam bake. Gonna have a clam bake. The heir to an oil fortune trades places with a water ski instructor at a Florida hotel. Elvis Presley and Shelley Fabares. They made several movies together. They were quite the duo for Elvis Presley movies. Double Trouble. When singer Guy Lambert goes on tour in Europe, he is pursued by 2 beautiful women. Elvis Presley, Annette Day, and John Williams. Double Trouble. Enter Laughing. A young would-be actor seeks his first break. Comedy romance. Jose Ferrer, Shelley Winters, and Elaine May. Enter Laughing. Comedy romance. First to Fight. Drama and war. Featuring Chad Everett, Marilyn Devon, and Dean Jagger. In World War II, highly decorated Marine Colonel Jack Connor comes home from the USA to the Pacific. First to Fight. Fitz Willie. A butler and the staff of an eccentric aged philanthropist whose family wealth is exhausted, engaged in larceny. Dick Van Dyke, Barbara Feldon, and John MacGyver. Fitz Willie. The Flim Flam Man. A rural con artist and an army deserter cheat the townsfolk and are aided by a rich gal who shields them from the law. George C. Scott, Sue Leyland, and Harry Morgan. Frankenstein Created Woman. After being reanimated, Baron Frankenstein transfers the soul of an executed young woman into the body of his lover. Peter Cushing, Susan Denenberg, and Thorley Walters. The Girl and the General. A young woman and a soldier team up to deliver an Austrian general to Italian forces during World War I. Rod Steiger and Bernie Lizzie. The Girl and the General. The Graduate. A disillusioned college graduate finds himself torn between his older lover and her daughter. Dustin Hoffman, Anne Bancroft, and Catherine Ross. The Graduate. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? A couple's attitudes are challenged when their daughter introduces them to her African-American fiancé. Spencer Tracy, Sidney Poitier, and Katharine Hepburn. Hell's Angels on Wheels. At first, gas station attendant Poet is happy when the Hell's Angels gang finally accepts him. Adam Rourke, Jack Nicholson, and Sabrina Sharp. Hell's Angels on Wheels. Hombre. John Russell disdained by his respectable fellow stagecoach passengers because he was raised by Native Americans. Paul Newman, Frederick March, and Richard Boone. Hombre. Hot Rods to Hell. The new owner of a motel in California desert has a run-in with gangs of delinquent teenagers and hot rodders. Dana Andrew and Jeannie Crane. Hot Rods to Hell. The Hellbenders. A Southern colonel, his 3 sons, and a card shark embark on an odyssey throughout the Southwest carrying a coffin full of stolen money. Joseph Cotton, Norma Bengal, and Julian Mateos. In Cold Blood. 2 ex-cons murder a family in a robbery attempt before going on the run from authorities. Robert Blake, Scott Willison, and John Forsythe. In Cold Blood. In the Heat of the Night. A black Philadelphia police detective is mistakenly suspected of a local murder while passing through a racially hostile Mississippi town. Sidney Poitier, Rod Steiger, and Warren Oates. King Kong Escapes. The evil Doctor Who captures King Kong to dig for Element X. When his robot duplicate is unable to do the job, King Kong escapes. La Muerte en Bikini. The Death in Bikini. Know what this is about? Be the first to add a plot. It's a thriller where people die in bikinis. Rodolfo de Anda. The Witches. 5 short stories loosely dealing with the roles of women in society. Silvana Magano and Annie Guerrero. The Witches. Next up we have is Love. Milt, who's having difficulties with his wife, runs into his friend Harry, who's about to kill himself. Jack Lemmon, Peter Falk, and Elaine May. Love. Su Excelencia, Your Excellence. Lopez, treated diversity by all Lopitos, is a humble but loyal citizen of Los Cocos Republic. This is a movie with Cantinflas, one of Mexico's greatest comedic actors. Su Excelencia. Dr. Dolittle. After the animal communicating veterinarian goes too far for his clientele, he and his friends escape their hometown to the sea in search of great pink sea snail. Rex Harrison and Samantha Eager. In Like Flint, super spy Flint takes on a cabal of women plotting to rule the world. James Coburn and Lee J. Cobb. Next thing we have is The Comedian. A cynical Welsh hotel owner secretly romances a diplomat's wife in Haiti under the violent reign of despot Papadoc. Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, and Alec Guinness. Mad Monster Party. On the Isle of Evil, Baron Boris von Frankenstein reveals his imminent retirement and that he has refined the secret of total destruction. Boris Karloff and Alan Swift, Mad Monster Party. A Matter of Innocence. Miss Polly decides to spend a few months with her wealthy spinster aunt as a traveling companion. Haley Mills, Brenda DeBanzi, and Dorothy Allison. Reflections in a Golden Eye. Bizarre tale of sex, betrayal, and probation at a military post. Elizabeth Taylor, Marlon Brando, and Brian Keith. Santo versus the Martian Invasion. Again, the Mexican wrestler. The masked wrestler battles Martians intent on taking over the Earth. So this is the Mexican wrestler beating people up. I love it. The classic movie that came out, Son of Godzilla. A reporter stumbles upon weather experiments on a tropical island, discovering giant manseas, a castaway woman, and an infant monster that Godzilla must learn to raise as a son. Son of Godzilla. Cop Out. John Sawyer, once an eminent barrister, has slid into a life of cynicism and drunkenness since his wife left him. James Mason and Geraldine Chaplin. Cop Out. Next up we have is Tammy and the Millionaire. Tammy, and a spunky young woman, has a series of adventures, including becoming a secretary, losing her house, regaining her house, and falling in love. Debbie Watson and Frank McGrath. Tammy and the Millionaire. The Ambushers. Dean Martin and Senta Berger. Secret agent Matt Hell must battle foreign spies and a rogue nation's exiled ruler in order to recover a hijacked U.S. government experimental flying saucer. The Busybody. Sid Caesar stars as the bumbling right-hand man of mob boss Robert Ryan, who is sent to find a corpse buried in a suit lined with stolen mob money. Sid Caesar and Robert Ryan. The Cool Ones. A young millionaire rock promoter decides to create a new boy-girl duo team for his teen TV dance show by teaming up an ambitious go-go dancer and a has-been pop star, Roddy McDowell and Debbie Watson. The Gnome Mobile. In the Redwood Forest of California, a multi-millionaire lumberman and his two young grandchildren encounter two gnomes who are the last of their kind. The Happiest Millionaire. Clever yet hapless new butler John Lawless manages a Philadelphia household for quirky and joyful millionaire Anthony Drexel, Fred McMurray, Tommy Steele, and Greer Garson. The Incident. Late one night, two young toughs hold hostage the passengers in one car of a New York subway train. Tony Musante, Martin Sheen, and Beau Bridges. The Innocent, or The Incident. The Karate Killers. Uncle agents Napoleon S. Solo and Curia battle Thresh, spies to seize Dr. True's secret chemical formula used in extracting gold from seawater. Robert Vaughn and David McCallum. The Love Ends. A college professor resigns in protest to the dismissal of a student underground newspaper, later joins their hippie movement and becomes their messiah. Richard Todd and James MacArthur. The Reluctant Astronaut. A NASA janitor is sent to space. Don Knotts, Leslie Nielsen, and Joan Freeman. Sci-fi space comedy and family. The Taming of the Shrew. Brutish fortune-hunting scoundrel Petruchio tames his wealthy shrew's wife, Katerina. Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, and Cyril Cusack. The Trip. A disillusioned TV commercial director is guided by his friend through an LSD trip, during which he evaluates his identity and his relationship with women. The Trip. Peter Fonda and Susan Strasberg. The Way West. In 1843, a former U.S. Senator leads a wagon train of settlers to Oregon, but his megalomania leads to growing dissatisfaction with his leadership. Kirk Douglas and Robert Mitchum. The Young Girls of Rockport. Two sisters leave their small seaside town of Rockport in search of romance. Catherine Deneuve, George Chakiris, and Francois d'Orléac. The Girls of Rockport. The Long Duel. The protest against British oppression and a tyranny of tribal leaders becomes a bandit. Yul Brynner, Trevor Howard, and Harry Andrews. The Long Duel. The Mummy Shroud. A 1920s, an archaeological expedition discovers the tomb of an ancient Egyptian child prince. The Mummy Shroud. André Morel and Jean Philippe. It looks like the ghost from the mummy's tomb. The Shuttered Room. A series of horrific murders is traced to a creature that inhabits a very strange house. Horror. Oliver Reed and Gig Young. The Shuttered Room. Thoroughly Modern Millie. In New York City during the Roaring Twenties, would-be flapper Millie, self-appointed mission to marry her boss is complicated by white slavers and true love. Julia Andrews and Jamie Foxx. Thunder Alley. Stock car racer Tommy Callahan is forced to join Pete Machell's thrill circus after his blackouts cause a fatal accident. Annette Funicello and Fabian and Warren Berlinger. Tony Rome. Tough Miami PI Tony Rome's hired by a millionaire to find jewelry stolen from his daughter. Frank Sinatra, Jill St. John. Tony Rome. To Sir with Love. Idealistic engineer trainee and his experiences in teaching a group of rambunctious white high school students from the slums of London's East End. Sidney Poitier and Judy Greason. Two for the Road. A couple in south of France non-sequentially spin down the highways of infidelity in their troubled 10-year marriage. Two for the Road. Audrey Hepburn and Albert Finney. Up the Down Staircase. The experiences of a young female English teacher in an inner-city New York high school. Patrick Bedford, Sandy Dennis, and Eileen Heckert. Valley of the Dolls. Film version of Jacqueline Susan's best-selling novel chronicling the rise and fall of three young women in show business. Barbara Parkins, Patty Duke, and Paul Burke. Valley of the Dolls. Wait Until Dark. A recently blinded woman is terrorized by a trio of thugs while they search for a heroin stuffed doll they believe is in her apartment. Audrey Hepburn, Alan Arkin, and Richard Crenna. The War Wagon. The story of a man who was shot, robbed, and imprisoned who returned to steal a large gold shipment. John Wayne, Kirk Douglas, and Howard Keel. The War Wagon. Warning shot. During a stakeout, an LA cop kills a doctor who presumably pulled a gun, but the coroner inquest finds no gun. David Jansen, Ed Begley, and Keenan Wynn. Warning shot. Who's that knocking at my door? A young man can't accept the girl he likes because of her bitter past. Harvey Keitel, Zena Bethune. Who's that knocking at my door? You only live twice. James Bond and the Japanese Secret Service must find and stop the true culprit of a series of space hijackings before war is provoked. Sean Connery and Akiko Wakabaya. The Big Mouth with Jerry Lewis. On a San Diego beach, Gerald Clamson fishes out the water a lookalike frogman who gives him a map to a stolen stash of diamonds. Jerry Lewis, and Harold Stone. Casino Royale. An eagerly spy spoof agent Sir James Bond comes out of retirement to take on Smersh. David Niven and Peter Sellers. Casino Royale. It. After one of their storehouses burns down, museum director Grove and his assistant Pym find that everything except for one statue has been destroyed. Roddy McDowall, Jill Hayworth, and Paul Maxwell. The Tiger Makes Out. A mailman looks for a woman to kidnap as a personal act of insurrection. Eli Wallach and Jackson. Those were the best films that came out in 1967. Which of those films did you remember watching? What were your favorites? What were your not so favorites of that year? There's some Oscar winner movies in there. Great great comedy, great horror, thriller, mystery, murder, scandal, sex, beach movies, a lot of Elvis Presley movies. Pretty much 1967 had all the genres covered that audiences for movie theaters and drive-ins appreciated. Right? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Those were the best films of 1967. I'm Tony, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.